Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. The market is not looking too bad so far this morning, but it's holding up pretty well. We were at that 414 level earlier this morning on the SPY. Right now, we're back to that 420 level, and it's holding up in a decent way. I wouldn't say it's like great movement by any means, especially from that bloodbath from yesterday, but I guess it's not the worst open we've seen.
Yeah, it's definitely not terrible, and I do like the way it's kind of bouncing at this 418 support this morning. Maybe this will hold up. This kind of reminds me of like an inverse head and shoulders pattern here, so maybe we'll see a nice move up today. I know, Mike, it seems like every time we see a big move one way or the other, the SPY usually corrects back to the opposite side. So since we had that big drop down yesterday, maybe we'll see a nice pop back up today, but who knows? I know that it got pretty low there in pre-market, so hopefully we see that pop and we don't move back down towards 414, because that would mean that a lot of stocks were back in the red, Mike. And I know yesterday we even had big players like Apple moving down in a big way.
Yeah, and then even these chip stocks were down in a pretty big way too, like AMD and Nvidia. So it seems like they're holding up decent right now. But again, the market has only been open for a minute, and yesterday was brutal. So we'll see what happens there. But Tom, I will say these solar stocks are really booming up. If you look at Run, you could say FSLR and even Enphase. Run is up the most. Run is up almost 5% today, and it had a really good day yesterday. And it seems like as the price of oil really rises, it seems like investors are definitely transitioning into different energy sources, and these solar stocks aren't looking too bad.
Yeah, they're not. They're doing pretty well, and that's a very interesting thought there, Mike, because I know I've seen lots of people lately talking about more solar capabilities, as well as possibly getting electric vehicles, because obviously as the price of crude oil just continues to go up, we're at $125 a barrel now. I know we were that high yesterday, but we gave it all back. But crude oil is back on the uptrend. Obviously, that's going to drive a lot more people to buy electric cars. So who knows? Maybe that'll help fuel the EV market, and then just obviously solar and clean energy in general.
Yeah, true that. So we have Michael saying, is it worth a shot on puts if Biden puts a ban on oil from Russia in his speech today? I would say if you're looking to play puts because of that move, I would say it's not worth it, because it seems like it's really priced in. Now, if Biden says something else, that can definitely make the market drop. That can be good for your puts. But, if you go on CNBC or really any other news article today, I'm just seeing a bunch of articles saying U.S. is expected to announce ban on Russian oil. Look at Tom, perfect. The top thing, U.S. is expected to announce ban on Russian oil as soon as today. Even if you went back to the homepage, Tom, there's actually another article right under the live one. There's 3 articles, you know what I mean? So that demonstrates the point perfectly. There's multiple articles saying that we're expected to ban Russian oil as soon as today. So my point is that if you buy puts because of that news, it's probably already priced in.
Yeah, definitely. I would think it might be priced in as well. And I know yesterday that was the big headline, Mike. Everybody kept saying crude oil jumps to $130 as the U.S. looks to ban Russian oil. And obviously that's a pretty big deal. The market is not reacting well to it. At least it didn't yesterday. But like you said, it probably is priced in. And sometimes, we like to see the market reverse and go against the majority. And right now, I would assume the majority is probably entering puts, waiting for him to ban the Russian oil. So, Mike, sometimes we see the market do some crazy stuff. I would not be surprised if Biden spoke and he had a good tone about the whole situation, it might help the market even go back up if he says some good stuff and has that good tone, like I said.
Yeah, we'll see. There's just a lot that goes into it, even with the FOMC press conferences, Biden can put a ban on Russian oil, but it depends how he says it and what else he says. People analyze everything Powell says, from how he says it to what he says to future outlooks to everything. So there's a lot that goes into it. And then Jerry said that people are saying that a ban on oil will cause the recession. just keep in mind that there's a lot of, everyone can say whatever they want, but, back when oil was, at, let's say, what was it at? Like, I know it went negative for like a second there, Tom, back in April of 2020, but a lot of people at that time were saying oil was never going to go back above like $40. Like, people were saying oil's going to stay this low forever. So, like, people are always going to say very extreme things, especially in times of like high volatility and, I guess you can say uncertainty, like in the political sphere, you can say. But one thing that I saw is I believe that the U.S. only imports like 1 to 3% of the total oil imports from Russia. So it's really not too much. And then another thing is like, some people might argue, well, if the U.S. Bans Russian oil, then Russia might hit back and do something else. But that was probably gonna happen anyways. Like, Russia's being sanctioned and tariffed by the whole world right now. Like, they were definitely gonna clap back at some point. So I don't see it. And then exactly, we have Sam and Vicky saying we only import 1% of oil from Russia, 3 to 4%. So like, that's the point. Like, from my reading, we import 1 to 3% of our total oil imports from Russia. So I really I don't see why people would say a ban on oil would cause a recession. I might be missing something though.
Yeah, I don't see it really either, and I've been hearing a lot of talks of the same exact thought there, and I just don't think it'll cause a recession either. Like you said, only at the maximum like 3 to 4%, like Vicky said. That's not too bad. So to be honest, I think that we'll be fine. And honestly, if it's only like 3 to 4%, you would think that we might be able to increase our production by 3 to 4% to maybe make up for that. So I wouldn't think that we'd see anything crazy. And also, Mike, with the way that crude oil is going up, I'm wondering if Biden's going to start like opening up the stockpiles. I know that sometimes these countries, especially whenever they work together, they can really flood the market and maybe cause oil prices to come down. So maybe we'll see like China, the US, and India. I know they've teamed up in the past to help bring prices down. So maybe they'll do that again. That would be a pretty good thing for the world. But I'm not sure that China's going to take our side right now. I know that they helped us in the past to bring the price of oil down, but right now I just don't think that they'll help us, given that Russia's going against us. I know that obviously China borders Russia up there, so that's definitely not the best thing for us right now.
Yeah, we shall see, And then even what Sam said, he read my mind. He said it's Europe that will be extremely hurt. Like, I know Russia supplies a ton of gas to a lot of the European nations, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, either way, it's definitely not good to see these trade wars and of course the invasion and all that stuff. But we're in a crazy world right now, so it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of volatility, Tom, and there's a lot of craziness going on.
Yeah, and actually Exxon Mobil's doing quite well today. I was actually looking at Oxy, and Oxy's kind of selling off to the downside. I wonder if Warren Buffett's selling his position, Mike. But either way, though, it seems like Oxy's moving down, but we have Exxon moving to the upside, almost up to $90. And Chevron is also moving up once again, up 2.5%, up to 166. So we're definitely seeing some big moves out of the oil plays. I will say it is especially interesting to see Oxy selling off while the others are running. That's definitely catching my eye here. So especially with all the big players buying into Oxy recently, I wonder if there's something going on.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah, but like you said, Exxon and Chevron are really running, though. They're kind of leaving Oxy in the dust.
Yeah, they are. It's very interesting to see them outperforming them in such a big way. And, crude oil is starting to turn back up, too. I would not be surprised if we end up blasting back up above 126 a barrel. And talking about the commodities, Mike, I know that GLD has been on a nice run. It's all the way up to 188. We're almost up to 180. We actually just broke above the high of pre-market yesterday. So gold is on the run here. Maybe we'll hit 190 soon.
Oh, yeah. Gold and silver are booming. They are really, really, really running, and I know we've been talking about them for weeks, but it's a pretty good play, especially with all of the craziness going on in the world. Historically, gold and silver have been great hedges against inflation. And I just like the level that they're at, as simple as that. So, yeah, they're looking pretty good.
Yeah, they are. I mean, it's really starting to break out today, especially intraday. I mean, it's looking pretty solid, and I really hope to see it continue. You know, it's had a nice run so far. If we look at like the max daily chart, GLD is really breaking above that 180 resistance now. And let's go look at the max daily, because yeah, we're actually getting really close to that all-time high on GLD around 194.50. So we'll have to keep this one on the radar, Mike. It just continues to fly up, but you know, of course, though, it's flying up on fear joining into the market. So it's not my favorite thing to see, but hey, it's a really good hedge.
Yep, for sure. Let's see. What else do we have going on? I'm just going to do a quick scan. Looks like these solar plays are still looking pretty decent, but besides that, Tom, we're definitely seeing still a decent amount of selling pressure continue. How is the VIX looking?
The VIX, let's check it out. VXX, it's actually looking pretty good. The VIX index itself, yeah, it looks just like the VXX. So yeah, it's moving up pretty well. VXX is actually just breaking out now that I pulled it on the radar. Just made a new daily high here from yesterday. So we're definitely moving up, Mike. I know yesterday I was really eyeing up that move above $28 at the end of the day, and it looks like we're seeing a nice continuation, but this means the SPY must be selling off. And yeah, it looks like the SPY is turning back over here.
Yeah, it's kind of looking like yesterday. Like it had a decent recovery in pre-market, but then right when market opened, it was just non-stop selling.
Yeah, it was. Look at that move yesterday. We fell from 432 all the way down at market close to around like 420, 419. So definitely had a big move yesterday. If we have something similar to that, I would think we could definitely retest these pre-market lows, maybe like 414 or 415. If we see the drop get kind of accelerated. You know, we do need to see more stocks falling, I think, though. I will say, Mike, like looking at my watch list, like half of it's green, half of it's red. Obviously, some of these bigger stocks like JP Morgan and stocks like that are starting to turn over, though, which is not a good sign. And looking at some of the like market makers like Tesla, they also started selling off at market open. So yeah, we might see the SPY get dragged down once again.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, check out Nvidia. That one is really trading lower by the minute. Yeah, it's right at that 210 level where it's the same level it based off of yesterday and after hours. So this one has been just trading lower and lower over like the past couple months. And Tom, like 210 is actually a huge level, not only as of like the past couple days, but go to like a daily chart or something. You can see that it bounced off of this level multiple times in the past as support, but it was also a resistance level back in like July of last year.
Yeah, it really was. And you're right. There's been a lot of bounces there. So that's going to be a huge level to look at. And to be honest, Mike, it's looking like we might try to break that to the downside today. So if you guys are day trading and you see a nice break below that, it might be a pretty good quick scalp play, but definitely make sure you see the break, because just like what we're seeing here, there's definitely going to be some volatility at that level. That's definitely a big one, Mike. Like you said, we even bounced there like all the way back in last July. I mean, that was a long time ago.
Yep. All right, what else do we have moving? Looks like AMC is breaking lower, same with Pfizer. Yeah, looking at AMC, Tom, it looks like we're retesting that support from a couple weeks ago, right around like 14 or so.
Yeah, we really are. It's looking pretty bad in my opinion, Mike, and we're also starting to break below that 1,000 SMA as well, which is not a good sign in my opinion. I know that we've been hovering around this one for a while, and yeah, it's looking bad. We've really failed to get back up above $20 with AMC, and you know, I was really hoping to see a nice breakout back up above 20, but we've just failed to see it, and we just keep getting rejected off this upper trend line as well. So definitely some bad movement coming out of AMC today, and we're already down 4%, and wow, it's starting to really get some momentum here to the downside, Mike. I wonder how low we're going to end up getting with this one, and I know it's not everyone's favorite thing to hear that AMC is down, but man, it's starting to accelerate in a big way.
Yep. Alrighty, so I will say this, Tom. Check out the SPY right now. I don't know what just happened, but we are seeing a giant green candle. I'm looking for some live news. All I'm seeing is Speaker Pelosi tells caucus House moving ahead on Russian oil ban vote. So that's the only news I'm seeing right now. That is a pretty big candle on the SPY. What else do we have going? Yeah, I mean, gold and the SPY are just really popping off. Gold also just broke out at like the same time the SPY did.
Wow, that's interesting. Sometimes gold moves the opposite of SPY, so I'm glad to see it moving up with it. that's definitely a good sign, and in my opinion, at least for gold. So that's good to see there. Yeah, it's definitely some crazy news must have came across, Mike, because that's a lot of volatility there with the SPY right back to the upside. We were also kind of bouncing right off that 418 support too. So who knows? Maybe we're just seeing some price action, but I would assume something came across, Mike, because that's a pretty big reverse with the SPY very, very quickly. And who knows? Maybe it's also just some of these tech plays coming back into the green. I will say, over the past 5 minutes, my watch list has been getting better and better, which is good to see.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Like when the market opened up this morning, I would say like maybe 30% of my watch list was green, but now we're probably at like 50-50, so that's awesome. But
Yeah, and some of these big banks are coming back too.
yeah, it's about time. How about the cruise lines and airlines though? Because those have been terrible lately.
Yeah, they're still not doing the best. They are back up in the green, up 1%, but still it's not looking too good. I will say though, like some of the airlines, looks like they could start recovering up in a major way today as long as this momentum continues. But man, with the way they moved in pre-market, it's just not too promising here. But I'm hoping to see them get some more good momentum. It looks like AAL isn't moving the best. I wonder if like Delta looks better, but yeah, Delta doesn't look much better. So it seems like the airlines are still just moving very slow. And that was a good point someone brought up the other day, Mike, is that these airlines are going to have to pay so much more now for oil and jet fuel and everything like that, that it's probably going to cut into their costs in a pretty big way.
Oh, you know it. It's going to be crazy. So on a different note, we have Kathy saying, Enphase seems to be having a good day. Some support and resistance levels, please. Yeah, Enphase is looking great today, Tom.
Yeah, it's having a really nice day, and I hope that we see a nice breakout because we're approaching a pretty big resistance level from last week. I know last week we had a lot of resistance around it, like right around the high there, around 173, which is kind of insane to say, but Enphase is priced at $170, so sometimes we see these huge moves out of them. So maybe we'll see a nice breakout today up above like 173. I also see some resistance around 170 as well, but I hope we see a nice breakout, Mike. And if we do, we might run up towards that 180 resistance. I think 180 will be the next major level as long as we start running here. And a good support I'm seeing is right around 160, which is kind of like where we extended down at market open today.
Good stuff. Alrighty. I'm just trying to do a couple quick scans just to see what we have moving. I would say Exxon Mobil and Chevron are breaking out, but we already talked about those a bunch, but they really are. Like Exxon and Chevron are just booming.
Yeah, they are. Exxon's almost up to 90 now. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, Mike, maybe we'll come up and test 90, and it looks like we actually are. Chevron is all the way up to 167.75 and just continues to go. And like whenever I look at these, Mike, like Chevron on the max weekly chart, they're making all-time highs. Exxon Mobil isn't at all-time highs yet, but we're getting really close to some major resistances. And if we start breaking out up above $100, we'll probably be at all-time highs pretty soon.
Yeah, it's crazy. Literally crazy. I'm just like watching these commodity prices move, and I'm just like, I'm in awe. Like, who would have thought that, like, looking at gold futures, Tom, over like the past month or two, they were at 1,800. Now they're at almost 2,035. I mean, they are just going crazy. And then don't even get me started on oil. That's moving even more. Like that went from, the futures went from like, I guess you can say, let's see. I guess you can say like $75 a barrel in the beginning of the year to highs of like 130 yesterday for crude.
Yeah, that was insane to see that go all the way up to 130, and we're actually almost back there. So yeah, it's definitely been on a crazy uptrend, and I know it's been a fairly unpopular thing, Mike, with everything going up too, because obviously people have been hating on the gas prices. I know I've just been seeing nonstop on social media, just gas prices this, gas prices that. We're back. I've even seen people saying that we're back in 2008. So it's definitely a crazy time. I know back in 2008. Gas prices were also soaring, or at least around that time. So definitely not good, Mike. I can't believe that inflation is getting as high as it is. I really cannot wait for the Fed's FOMC meeting next week. I think that's going to be very crucial for the market, Mike. And, we continue to see TLT start to fall off the table. And I wonder if the Fed raising rates will make this go down even more.
True. Could you just imagine the inflation data that comes in with the way that these commodities are just moving. Like everything from oil to potash to wheat to, of course, gold and silver, but everything is just like booming commodity wise, and it's gonna even like make the inflation problem even worse.
Yeah, it is. Like, could you imagine being on like one of the Fed panels, Mike? Like maybe being like one of the Fed governors, and like you're sitting there and you're digesting the data with everybody, and you see these numbers come across. Like these guys in these meetings, they must like be jaw dropped with what they're seeing, because some of this stuff is just insane. And honestly, like whenever I was seeing some inflation charts a couple years ago, Mike, it was showing inflation in like the 70s so high that I couldn't believe it. And I can't believe that we're back up there now, like especially how quickly that it happened. I guess everything from COVID just started piling on, but the speed in which this happened has also like caught me off guard, because it's just like, I feel like just almost like 6 months ago, we were still talking about transitory, and now we're talking about highest inflation numbers since like the 70s. So it's definitely getting up there.
Yeah, true that. We have trading saying, what about CPI data this week? Yeah, I mean, that'll probably be tough too, just all inflation data. It's going to be tough. But yeah, Tom, do you have like any setups you're looking at? Because I'm just trying to find something that's moving.
Yeah, there's a lot of plays actually going back to the upside today. I hope that RUN is continuing, but they're starting to turn back over here. I was hoping to maybe see a nice move out of like Run, ChargePoint, stocks like that. I know they did very, very well yesterday, even though the market was in the red. So I'm definitely going to eye these ones up for a possible move later on today, but it looks like right now they're not doing much. Mike, I know there's been a few stocks moving at least over the past few weeks. I wonder how DWAC is doing. And yesterday they were looking awful, and today they fell all the way down to $70 at market open. I know DWAC was going up in a major way there for a few weeks, Mike, and it gave all of the gains back within just 2 days. I wonder if there's something going on with DWAC. I'm not really seeing too much news come out, but I definitely see the headline says that there's weakness possibly due to uncertainty surrounding the app. So we'll just probably have to wait till this one launches to finally see the nice momentum.
Yeah, we shall see. Jerry said growth not looking hot today. Yeah, it's looking terrible. Looking at some of these plays, like, of course, DraftKings, we talk about that one all the time. That one's getting smacked today. It is down almost 4%, and there's not really any news. Some of the other growth plays that are getting hit are, Upwork, AI, I guess you can say like Neo, stuff like that. But yeah, Tom, it's been a pretty rough time for growth.
Yeah, it definitely has. Like some of those stocks are down quite a bit. Like Chewy's down 4.3%, Mike. I hate to see that. They've been one of the ones I've been eyeing up a lot lately. So hopefully we see a nice recovery out of them. I know that you like Chewy too. So I know that I love Chewy's sector too, Mike. They're in that online e-commerce industry, and they deal with pets, which I think that's a pretty good industry to be in. But I know they have a lot of competition and stuff, but I still feel like, Mike, that their chart looks pretty good. They do still have that nice support down there around 36.69 or just $37. So hopefully we see these stocks hold up. I know even stocks like AI that have been going down, they're still about to retest some support. So that's the good news, is that some of these growth stocks aren't necessarily like breaking supports in a major way. At least we're still up above those lower levels.
True. Corbin said I averaged down on DraftKings and Snap. Yeah, it's always good to average down on stocks you like for the long term if they're at a good level, which, yeah, I mean, they're looking pretty decent. So that is awesome. Tom, I am seeing my watch list slowly turn more and more red. It's not good. The market actually just went back from green to red, and it's just very volatile today, Tom. How about this action on the SPY? Like, we open up at around, what is that? We open up around like 420, rise all the way up to 421, fall all the way down to like 417.50, back up to 421, and now we're heading back down. It's been all over the place, and I hate to say it, but we're probably going to see a lot more of this volatility over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, we will, especially with those FOMC meetings. That's probably going to make it even crazier. And who knows, if China starts doing some crazy stuff, that could even make for like a bigger snowball effect. So hopefully we see stuff start to recover. I know that it's definitely not looking too good though. I feel like Mike, like the fear just keeps creeping into the market. We keep seeing stuff like VIX, for example, just continue to fly up. Like, look at the VIX today. It's actually looking like a pretty good play. VXX is starting to really rip. So that might be the way to go today. I know we talked about a lot of these different ETFs in last night's video, like VXX, SPSX, and UVXY, and they are starting to move in some pretty big ways. UVXY is only up 0.8%. So maybe if they start to run, we'll start to see a pretty good move out of that one. I know that like yesterday, UVXY was up like 12% at the high?
Yeah, it was insane. It was something crazy like that.
Yeah, so we might be able to see a nice recovery, and I think it'll definitely make for some good movement and some good plays. I know that a lot of these EV companies are definitely moving back down, Mike. Like XPEV is having a pretty bad day, down 3.9%. I know Tesla was down earlier this morning, but actually Tesla recovered all the way back up, Mike. This is actually a pretty nice recovery out of Tesla here compared to a lot of the other movement we're seeing today.
There we go. All right. So we have Raymond saying V and MA to scalp today with a question mark. Let's see Visa. Visa's down around 0.5%. Let's see. He said for a scalp. Let me just check out some other charts really quickly. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I would say it's decent for a scalp. Like maybe if it gets closer to like these low, like the low of day or maybe even the high of day. I just don't think there's like a good opportunity scalping it in the middle of its range like it is right now. So for example, like if you're going to scalp it to the downside, then I feel like it should have more like negative momentum or more selling pressure than what it has now. Like we can see like it's actually holding up a lot better than a lot of other stocks right now. And even if we look at like MA, which is MasterCard for a second, that one is a little bit weaker today. So they can be decent. I just don't love the setup right now. And even if we like go to like a daily chart, we can see like over the past like 2 weeks, it has been non-stop bleeding with Visa and MasterCard, like even more bleeding than the overall market. So it's like part of me is like feeling that we're bouncing off a major support level with both of these stocks. For Visa, it's right around like 190 or so, right around that area. And then for MasterCard, it's right around 310 in my opinion. So I don't love the setups, but they can be decent if they just like kind of fade off more.
Yeah, I would say they could be decent as long as you see that selling pressure continue into the day. But I'm kind of with Mike. It's like, for example, if we go to that daily chart, like Mike pointed out, like Visa and MasterCard have been going down in a pretty major way over the past couple weeks. And especially like last week, Visa started really selling off. Even yesterday, we had a pretty big red candle. So I would expect a little bit of consolidation, kind of like what we're seeing today. We're not really flying down or up too much. We're just kind of staying steady, and we might recover up a little bit today given how much we've been falling. So that's my main concern, Mike, is we've been going down so much that I feel like we might see a couple of green consolidation candles, kind of like what we saw back on like November 23rd and then November 24th. Like Visa was selling off in a big way. Then we just had 2 green candles back to the upside. I feel like we could see a similar move here, and we've seen a couple of moves like that in the past as well. So I feel like that could be the way that this stock ends up playing out. I just don't think it's the best of the downside, kind of like what you said. And if we're looking at stocks to the downside, I mean, there's some pretty big ones moving down. Like AMC is about to break below a major support. We have Facebook starting to break supports as well. So we might start to see some of these other plays start to move down more, I think, than some of these credit card companies. And I will say the credit card companies had some weird news. I know that they suspended operations in Russia over the weekend. So that was pretty big for them.
Yeah, and then I just want to give one, or actually 2 quick examples related to these overextended type setups. So just like we were talking about with Visa and MasterCard, the concern is that, they're at a decent support level, but more important than anything else, it's like it's overextended to the downside. So Tom, check out the intraday charts on X and then CLF. So looking at X first, we can see it had an insane like multi-day run up for multiple days, obviously. And then yesterday, everything was just going great, right? It was breaking out. and then it got to like $33.50, almost $34, and then it just lost all of its gains, gave back even more, and then look at today, it's down 6%. So it's like, yeah, everything's great when a play is just moving in an insane way to the upside or the downside, but when you get those like overextended moves, it's just a matter of time before they pull back in an insane way. So X is a perfect example. Look at all those giant green days on the way up, and then it was actually up a lot yesterday and it gave it all back. And then check out CLF, Tom. It's like basically the same exact thing. Multiple giant green days and then gave it all back, and now it's down 7%. So, my concern with Visa and MasterCard is, we might see a couple giant green up days as, that overextended move kind of evens out.
Yeah, definitely. I could see that happening as well. So definitely be careful with it. I think that'll be an interesting play for whoever asked the question, Mike. But it's definitely going to be an interesting thing to watch because these credit card companies have been selling off in some major ways. And honestly, it's been really catching my attention for a possible longer term play. So I can't wait to see how it ends up moving. But I'm with you. I could definitely see a bit of a recovery up as well. Like you said, whenever you get so overextended, sometimes you just have to look for that move. And talking about X, Mike, I can't believe this one fell down this much today again. I know that I was eyeing it up in the middle of the day yesterday, and man, it really continued down today. We're back below $30 now.
Yeah, crazy. Then we have Jerry saying, you think DraftKings might test the 52-week low? I mean, obviously I hope not, but I feel like there's a decent chance of that happening, just trying to be objective. The 52-week low is at $16. It made that low in, it looks like, pre-market of February 22nd. That's what it looks like, yeah. February 22nd pre-market. And right now it's at like 17. So given the IV over 100%, the market is definitely pricing in a nice chance of it retesting that low, but we'll see.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't, but it definitely looks like it might today. We're breaking below some major support levels like $18. We're even breaking below kind of like whenever we fell to 16, there was like a bit of consolidation there around like 1750, and we're starting to move even below that. So I could probably see it retesting that, Mike. We're only about $1 away from $16, so I could see it happening. It's definitely not my favorite thing to be seeing, though. Obviously we want to see DraftKings up, especially in the longer term. But yeah, not good to see this one down. I know it's not just DraftKings today, Mike. We have a lot of growth down, like DraftKings, Roku, AI, like you mentioned earlier. Even like Beyond Meat is down in a big way, and we're even seeing like some metaverse plays like Unity. I mean, look at poor Unity here at $77.22. Like, boy, this one almost can't even get worse at this point. We're about to retest lows of all the way back on, it looks like May 11th, which was back whenever Palantir had that big announcement that made growth start shooting up. So, man, I'm definitely going to be eyeing up that big support there around 76.
Yeah. And then Hunter said, Mike, in a few weeks we should have everyone in stat modeling pull money and we should buy the entire company of DraftKings. Well, you could say the same thing about like some of these other growth plays too. Like I haven't checked in Unity in a while, Tom, and it's just like jaw-dropping to see some of this movement. You said 210 down to like 78. Like that is crazy. And then even check out Roblox, Tom. That thing went from 142 basically down to 40.
Oh man, yeah, they're looking bad. They're really selling off. That's a pretty bad move, Mike. I honestly feel pretty bad for a lot of Roblox investors, especially the ones who got in whenever Pelosi started buying, because she bought it like the exact wrong time almost, Mike. Like, man, she definitely picked the downturn there, which is insane. I know her husband owns the plays, but I'm sure she has some influence. But that's crazy to see Roblox down this much, along with Unity. Even like Matterport, Mike, even that one's continuing to go lower. It's like these plays that were rising whenever the metaverse was announced are really getting hit, and even Facebook, like Meta itself is getting destroyed. So it's definitely a pretty crazy time to see that sector just continuing to go down. But I'll tell you what, to be honest, these are some of my favorite plays for the longer term. So I'm really eyeing up some nice cash secure puts like on Facebook, Unity. I really like Unity, Mike. They're even in the gaming sector too, which that sector is going to be pretty big for the future as well.
Yeah. So Unity, MTTR, Matterport, like we talked about, LMND, and then even SKLZ. These are getting demolished. Look at Lemonade. Jeez. 115 down to 18.
Yeah, that's a huge one. I mean, wow, they really got hit. This one might be a penny stock soon, Mike. I mean, I cannot believe I'm saying Lemonade to $20. I remember this stock had a lot of momentum for a while, and I know that we said the highs of 118, but look at the all-time high at 188. Like, this one's starting to move kind of like a zoom on the daily chart.
Yeah. Jeez. And then SKLZ is almost worse. That one's at like $2 right now. Had a high of like 46.
Yeah, that one's really bad. Like that, like, let's see the percentage loss to the downside on this one, Mike. Like, this is going to look like some of these Russian plays. Like, let's see, all the way down to like $2, a 95% move to the downside. I mean, wow. I mean, that definitely shows you guys that these valuations definitely matter with these companies. I mean, to see something go down 95% from the high, Mike, like, honestly, like, I bet you that there's some Russian stocks holding up better than that on the Russian exchange right now, which is kind of crazy to say.
Yeah, exactly. Crazy stuff. How's the market looking?
Yeah, let's go back to the SPY really quick. It definitely continued down. We're actually now below 418, continued to move lower. We're going to be moving down towards 416, and honestly, I have support at 415 and then 414. So maybe we'll retest those lower levels today, Mike, and in my opinion, we will. We're starting to really turn over. We're seeing these bigger stocks, like even like Microsoft, Mike, they're now down 2% on the day. Like, look at the way Microsoft is breaking down to these lows here. Like, it's starting to really accelerate. And I know Apple's not quite as bad, but even they're breaking the low, which is not good.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it's tough when you see these top tech stocks fall like this. Microsoft, Apple. Of course, we already talked a decent amount about Nvidia, and Tesla was doing decent. Amazon down almost 2%. So crazy stuff. Checking out the VIX. VIX is booming. Gold is really, really booming. Silver is exploding. Yeah, commodities are on the rise. It's looking like a pretty bad day again.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I wonder if there's something coming across the headlines, Mike. Like, I wonder if there's any big news coming out. I really want to see like maybe like a nice like CNBC headline or something like that. Let's see. EU pledges to cut Russian gas imports by 2/3 before the end of the year. I mean, that's good, but wow, look at this. Russia warns of $300 oil, threatens to cut off European gas if West bans energy imports. Mike, this might be what we're seeing, because remember whenever we started out the day today, somebody said in the comments Russia might start to hit back if we start to impose some bans on the oil, and it looks like they definitely said they would. Like, if they start to cut Europe off of their gas imports, that's going to be terrible for Europe in the short term. So, yeah, I mean, they're definitely, two powerhouses are going at it right now, the U.S. and Russia, and it's definitely going to be tough. If we ban oil, I mean, I'm going to be worried for the volatility in the short term. But to be honest, at this point, Mike, like with the way crude's moving, with the way gold's moving, if the U.S. banned the import of Russian oil, I wouldn't even be too sad at this point. I know it sucks for the European countries, but maybe they should have imported more from us.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, that news did come out before the market even opened. But I know what you mean. But it's just crazy to see some of these commodities moving the way they are. Like, I'm just looking at this chart of gold, and I'm just like, wow. Like, jeez, like, especially gold futures, like, these are just moving to the upside in a crazy, crazy way. And that is insane.
Yeah, all the way up to 192. Like, let's see, what is that all-time high on GLD? It looks like up around like 194 or 195. And Mike, I remember at the beginning of the stream today, I said, we might come up and retest the all-time high over the next few days, but man, I never expected it to happen today. Like, wow. I mean, we're almost up 3% on gold, and I feel like the fear is really creeping in. So This is definitely not good, but I will say it's getting pretty volatile. It looks like gold is now pulling back pretty big from that high of 192.60. So these candles are definitely starting to move around all over the place as that volume comes in.
Yep, no doubt about that. Let's see. Raymond said banks are falling. Short them today with the question mark. What do you think?
Let's see, JP Morgan. I mean, it's starting to really break off lower. I would think it's a good play to the downside. Personally, I like it. I think it could be a good play. This was actually, let me double check. Yeah, this was actually my free day trade today, Mike. Looking at it, I had it if JP Morgan moved below 128, I would eye up a play to the downside for puts. And it looks like if you would have entered right as it moved below 128, it'd be working out pretty well right now. And, we are breaking that support. So maybe we will see a pretty big sell-off. I think it's a decent play, but keep in mind, it's only meant for a quick in and out day trade. I don't think it's going to be good to like swing a play to the downside with the banks. Kind of like what we talked about with Visa and MasterCard, Mike. Like they're just getting pretty overextended. While it might continue in the short term, I feel like eventually we're going to see some consolidation.
Yeah, exactly. Like it can be good like in the short term, but be careful swinging it, just like you said. Like JP Morgan's down like 1.4% today, and sure, it can end up being down 3% or 4%, and it can be good for maybe like a scalper or two, but just be a little cautious with swinging it. Exactly what Tom said.
Yeah, and if you look at JP Morgan yesterday, like of course it was a bad day for JP Morgan yesterday, but like look at the way it moved it open. Look at the distance it moved from open to close, like the way that the candles played out. Honestly, like we've almost fallen intraday about the same distance that we fell yesterday. I'm not saying that those distances are necessarily gonna play a huge factor, but I'm just saying like look at how much JP Morgan's already down. It might not be the smartest play at this point, but who knows? It could definitely continue lower. And honestly, with the way it broke support, I hope it does, just for the sake of having a nice play here. But yeah, I mean, I'm eyeing the banks up to the downside as well, but I'm definitely going to eye up, Mike, that daily chart, because honestly, like I've been waiting to buy a JP Morgan for the longer term here. And as we continue lower, I'm going to be like looking to sell some puts soon. We're honestly approaching that 1,000 SMA. And if we look at like the max weekly chart, we're starting to get into some pretty big supports, and there's a huge one at 120.
Yeah. All right. So it looks like we are seeing some sort of pop back up over like the past couple minutes or so, specifically with growth stocks, and I guess you can say a little bit on the S&P 500. But looking at some of these plays like DraftKings, Penn, Zoom, maybe Disney a little bit, it's like they're popping up a little bit. Nothing crazy by any means, but still, I mean, at least it's a little bit.
Yeah, at least it's doing good. I mean, DraftKings is looking decent. You said Disney was going back up. Oh, yeah, a little bit. But, yeah, definitely Disney isn't doing as good as DraftKings, man. Yeah. I can't believe Disney's down to 130, Mike. Like, I can't even believe that we're saying that today. Like, we're honestly about to test that major support. So that's going to be big today for Disney. Hopefully we see a nice recovery back to the upside. And I know that Biden's speaking a little bit later, Mike. Do you remember what time he's expected to talk?
I believe 10:45 a.m. Eastern time. That's what CNBC said earlier today. So looks like in about like 30 minutes or so.
Yeah, that'll be pretty big. I know that he's expected to talk a lot about those Russian gas imports. And, I'm really curious to see if Russia decides to ban, or to see if the U.S. decides to ban Russian oil. I know that's going to be huge. And obviously, crude oil has been running up into that event this morning. So that's going to be huge, Mike. I would say personally, like I said before, I kind of hope that we do ban it. I know that it's going to hurt Europe, but in the end, what's Europe been doing? They've been making pipelines with Russia. They've been having a lot of deals with them. Maybe they should have been making more deals with other countries, or more deals with us for imports and stuff like that. I know it obviously might not have been as cost effective, but I guess that's the price you have to pay if they're gonna, buy from a superpower like Russia that they know, has been historically, I don't want to say, historically like bad or anything, but historically they've been a thorn in the West Side, to say the least.
Yeah, I feel like we should just up the production, especially in the United States. I feel like that would do a lot. But we will see, Tom. We will see. But yeah, the way crude oil is moving now is terrible. And I personally feel like Biden's going to do something because, like, with the way oil's moving up, like, that's just going to destroy his, like, approval, in my opinion. I feel like he's going to do something to kind of at least slow down this crazy movement.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've already been seeing a lot of people talk about his approval ratings, and apparently they've been like really tanking off. And I know that just the overall consumers, like just consumers in general, they hate higher gas prices. And right now, I mean, I went to the gas station last night and it was $4.18 a gallon for just regular gas. And that's in rural Missouri where gas prices are cheap. So I can't imagine in like New York how high these are getting.
I think I saw screenshots on Facebook of people's gas prices in like LA, or maybe it was Northern California, something like that. And I think it was like $6 to $7 a gallon. I'm pretty sure.
That's insane. Like that would make it where like my vehicle would cost like $100 to fill out the gas tank. Like that's just insane to even say almost.
Yeah, crazy. What else do we have moving? We have Paul saying, what is the best buys for 6 months out? It totally depends. Like, 6 months, that's kind of a short time frame. Gold and silver have been looking really good. It really just depends. Like, there's a lot of stocks that I like at these levels. Disney, DraftKings, Square, Zoom, Enphase, a lot of stocks like that. Upward, but that does not mean that they're going to be higher 6 months from now. That's the thing. Like, they're longer term plays. So it's like, if you have a longer term time frame, there's a lot of stocks like that are looking good. 6 months out, honestly, like, I would look at gold and silver. I know they're already up a ton, but I feel like they're just not really correlated with the market. And if you're really looking for that 6 month time frame, I feel like gold and silver might be the way to go.
Yeah, and like, a lot of traders might think, well, hey, Zoom, 6 months from now, the chances of them being up are pretty high. But look at how, honestly, like Mike, look at how long Zoom's been going down now for. It's been going down for over a year at this point, almost a year and a half. It's kind of insane, like at least from the all-time high. So definitely not good. And we could see that movement continue. And, I know Zoom is looking better fundamentally than some other growth stocks, but like Mike, like in like Upwork's case and a few others, like I'm not saying I've done a deep fundamental dive on Upwork or anything, but like a lot of these growth stocks are still being considered as overvalued. So
yeah,
that's another thing to look at too. So we might continue to see the downtrend for a couple more months, which then if like let's say we go down for 2 more months, then we only have 4 more months to recover. And, sometimes those recoveries can be pretty slow.
Oh, check out Amazon back in 2000. I love this example. So this is like one of my favorite examples to give. So we can see, I believe it was 2000. Maybe it was like 1999 or so. So we can see it went from $113 down to $6. It hit $6 in like 2001, 2002. And then it did not get back up to 113 until, what is that, Tom? What year is that? 113. That's like 2010, 2009. Like it took from 2001 to 2009 just to get back to that high of the dot-com bubble.
Yeah, and that was out of a booming company like Amazon. And I know Amazon wasn't as big back then as they are now, but they definitely had a lot of hype. And I know I remember hearing a whole lot about Amazon and Apple back in the day, and you're right. Those recoveries were pretty slow, and I could definitely see that happening. And even if like we look at stuff after 2008, I know Amazon looks a lot better, but like let's go look at even some of the oil plays, because I know those are really popular right now. Like look at oil after 2008. It even took a lot of those plays like multiple years to recover back up, even out of like the volatile oil market. So that should show you right there that there could be a while before we start seeing a true recovery.
Yeah, and then even like some of the bank stocks back in 2008 and 2009. Like you look at JP Morgan and that one actually recovered pretty quickly. But some of these other bank stocks, like Bank of America, they still Like, they just took a lot longer, and they didn't even get back to those all-time highs back from like 2006 or 2007.
Yeah, we're actually still not even back, believe it or not. I can't believe that. Like you said, JP Morgan's been doing a lot better. But yeah, wow. I mean, this is crazy to see Bank of America's setup here. And yeah, wow, I can't believe this, Mike. Like I know Bank of America is like a slower mover, and obviously now it's like a more established company, but I mean, still to see it go up this slow over that time frame is pretty insane, especially for a big play like Bank of America. I know that 2008 was especially hard on these bank stocks, but man, I mean that's really telling there. So that's the best example in my opinion.
And then even Hunter said it took Microsoft until 2016 to break its 2000 level highs. Wow. Yeah, that's
Look
insane.
at that on the chart. Like that's an insane thing to see, Mike. Like that. Wow. I mean, I know that we've talked a lot lately. It's just making my jaw drop. And
Yeah.
I know that we've talked a lot lately about these valuations, and we've even compared a lot to the early 2000s. And to see Microsoft take that long, I mean, that is telling right there.
Yep. All right, Tom. Well, we had a pretty good stream. Do you have any last minute plays or anything you're watching?
Yeah, I'm still trying to eye up some of these defense stocks. I'd love to see them maybe turn back around, but it looks like they are moving back to the downside today. Like Lockheed Martin started turning over a little bit at market open. Looks like Northrop is turning down. General Dynamics is coming down as well. Maybe we'll start to see a couple of consolidation days out of these defense plays, Mike. I know they've been on the uptrend quite a bit, kind of like what we talked about with X and US Steel. Like they've just been going up so much that we might start to see a bit of a move down, kind of like what we're seeing today. So definitely be careful with some of these defense plays. If I'm looking at plays to the upside, ASTR, Mike, has been really catching my eye lately. I don't know what's been going on with this one. It definitely has some nice momentum today. So honestly, like I haven't been eyeing up too many stocks this morning because a lot of stocks have just been having so much volatility to the upside and the downside. But I will say, like, some of these sectors, like the space sector, for example, has been moving obviously like with a mind of its own. It hasn't really been following the market. So I feel like ASTR could be a pretty good play today if we start to see it break out.
Yeah, we will see. It's not looking too bad. So good stuff there. Before we close out of today's stream, I just want to personally thank everyone for joining. So thank you so much, Alex, Hunter, I'm Fierce, Michael, Marietta, Mike, Vicky, Sean, George, Jerry, Sam, Trading Lifestyle, Corbin, Kathy, Raymond, and let's see, Paul, and I think that's everyone. So thank you guys so much for joining today's stream. We had a great time. The market is going crazy, especially commodities. Commodities are booming. Gold, silver, oil, wheat, all that stuff is going crazy. So be on the lookout for that. And thank you guys so much for watching.